علی اکبر علی اکبر اکبر علی اکبر علی اکبر اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر زیارت تیری کرتا ہے زیارت تیری کرتا ہے تیرا بابا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر یہ کس نے کہہ دیا سرکار کا سایہ نہیں کوئی یہ کس نے کہہ دیا سرکار کا سایہ نہیں کوئی محمد مصطفیٰ کا ہے محمد مصطفیٰ کا ہے سایہ علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر نہیں ہوگا تمہارا بھی کوئی سایہ علی اکبر نہیں ہوگا تمہارا بھی کوئی سایہ علی اکبر کبھی سائے کا سایہ ہو نہیں سکتا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر دیے راغب کو جس نے سات بیٹے اپنی مرضی سے دیے راغب کو جس نے سات بیٹے اپنی مرضی سے نماز شب میں اس نے نماز شب میں اس نے آپ کو مانگا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر خدا کے لاڈلے ہو تم جبھی رب نے خدا کے لاڈلے ہو تم جبھی رب نے اذان میں بھی تمہارا نام ہے رکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر ہنسی تم سا رسولوں میں نہیں دیکھا علی اکبر فرشتے انبیاء سب 11ویں شعباں کو آتے ہیں فرشتے انبیاء سب 11ویں شعباں کو آتے ہیں درے شبیر پر لینے درے شبیر پر لینے تیرا सदका अली अकबर, हंसी तुम सा रसूलों में नहीं देखा अली अकबर, हंसी तुम सा।
بالسما هلال خط الفرحة مرسال، مولد 5 أبطال مولد كربلائي. زين بالسما هلال خط الفرحة مرسال، مولد 5 أبطال مولد كربلائي.
يا قلبي طاير من ضلوعي، أزرع من دموعي يحكي عن موضوعي. لحسيني من صدق حبيته، قلبي يشبه بيته وانا زاير جيته. وبشعبان شعوبان ضوى الدنيا
خلنا الزهرة تهدى،
هذا حسين بينه وبين الله شقد موده. عقل التاهي والله راسي يدور والفه،
امشي وبيا لهفه
لاهل البيت خطر سجد جنحي يريد يشفى. تدري الخيمة والماي سيد كربلاء الجاي، عدهن هالمسوياي مولد كربلاء.
زين بالسما هلال خط الفرحة مرسال، مولد 5 أبطال مولد كربلائي.
علي أكبر علي أكبر أكبر علي أكبر علي أكبر أكبر.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق، النجم الثاكب، إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ. فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق، خلق من ماء دافق، يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب، إنه على رجعه لقادر. يوم تبلى السرائر، فما له من قوة ولا ناصر. والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات السدع، إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل. إنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا، فمهل للكافرين أمهلهم رويدا. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
امشب همه دنیا پر از نوره، امشب شب عشق و شب شوره، امشب همه دنیا پر از نوره، پر از نوره. یه قنداقه که رو دستای مهتابه، همه میگن علی اکبر بلاگردون اربابه. پر از نوره یه قنداقه که رو دستای مهتابه، همه میگن علی اکبر بلاگردون اربابه. جان علی اکبر علی اکبر علی اکبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء، وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء، وخضع لها كل شيء، وذل لها كل شيء، وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء، وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس، يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تأتي كل عصر، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقاب، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك، وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع، أن تسامحني وترحمني، وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك السؤال من اشتدت فاقته، وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته، وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك، وعلى مكانك، وخفي مكرك، وظهر أمرك، وغلب قهرك، وجرت قدرتك، ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا، ولا لقباحي ساترا، ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي، وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي، كم من قبيح سترته، وكم من فادح من البلايا قلته، وكم من عثار وقيته، وكم من مكروه دفعته، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي، وأفرط بي سوء حالي، وقصرت بي أعمالي، وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفع بود آمالي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها، ونفسي بخيانتها، ومطالي يا سيدي. فأسألك بعزتك لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي، ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي، وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي في قضاءك وألزمني حكمك وبلاغك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مسافرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. إلهي فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي. هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي. أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته أو تبعد من أدنيته أو تشرد من آويته أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة وبشكرك مادحة وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثوه يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وحلول وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها ضج وأبكي لأليم العذاب والشدة أم لطول البلاء ومدته فلئن صيرتني في العقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك. وهبني يا إلهي صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك. أم كيف أسكن النار ورجائي يفوق. فبعزتك يا مولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولو نادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية آمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفتك وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي. فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك ورأفتك ورحمتك. أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك. أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه. أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه. أم كيف يتغلغل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه. أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب. أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها. هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كانت لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما. لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين. وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته وأعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتك الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني، وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلته أو إحسان فضلته أو بر نشرته أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة وبخدمتك موصولة، وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قو على خدمتك جوارحي واسدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرد، ومن كادني فكد، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، وعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واغفر لي زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء. يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقام، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بي ما أنت أهله. وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
حياتنا مماتنا عزاؤنا لم نكن نبكي على طفل رضيع بل طفولات مدى الدنيا.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Brothers and sisters, welcome to one of the most exciting days of the year so far. We have got a youth day today in celebration, in commemoration, in veneration of our role model and one of the role models of the 10th of Muharram, Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam, the son of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. We often have role models who we think of on one specific occasion, but we fail to have that chance to really do them justice, to spend time looking into their lives, to learn from them, their inspiration, how we can take that into our lives today. But today's program is absolutely jam-packed with quizzes, with poets, with recitations, and with scholarly advice on how we can bring Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam on his birthday to our lives today. And to start this program, I am more than thrilled to invite our one and only incredible poet, reminder, invigorator of our hearts, someone who's written so many amazing words of inspiration and love for the Ahlul Bayt. Please welcome, wherever you are, Brother Nouri Sardar with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the kind words. So congratulations to everyone on the auspicious occasion of the birth of Ali Akbar alayhi salam, and generally on this month of Sha'ban, the month where we celebrate the births of many heroes of Karbala, including Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Imam Sajjad, and Abdullah Abbas alayhi salam. I've got a few poems which I'll share, the first of which is about Imam Hussain alayhi salam, so I think please get a loud salawat on Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli. Bismillah. 7 letters of which daily I've dreamt, and to each letter a lifetime I have lent. His name, it touches my ears before my heart's consent. The beat of my heart skips a lover's moment, the joy of my smile, and the cries I lament, yet I still wonder what Hussain truly meant. My eyes see bodies upon desert's plains, they lie, yet their names live on, though upon dust they lie. Whoever said Hussain is dead, they lie. He lives on in the heart of every believer. He preached revolution alone with his soul sword. He defeated swords with blood and with his soul sword. Hussain didn't die that day. Rather, his soul soared. His name is a symbol that flies forever. The worth of Hussain is that none know of his worth. His story is the greatest story ever told. And even though daily we hear his name, the sheer value of his worth remains untold. Hussain bent the meaning of the word impossible, just like his grave bends the scale of this world. His name redefines what is most valuable, like his dust is sought more than diamond and gold. He cannot be killed, no matter how much they try. The perfect imbalance against all those who oppress. Over 1,000 years and his enemies are gone. In every age they fail, while he sees success. I tell you that Hussain defies infinity. He has the only love that's timeless. 21 million walking is my proof. Let 6 billion walk, he isn't worth less. Hussain bends the scale of mortality. His existence alters the meaning of real. And he who gets to know Abba Abdullah finds nothing surprising, nothing surreal. Medicine in this world, savior in the next. Not just illnesses, hearts and souls he'd heal. If mankind knew what he was capable of, you would see kings of nations at his grave kneel. I tell you that there is only one Hussain. Until time's end, there can never be a second. Bring me any noble fighter of justice. On a scale, Hussain equals 1,000. He's great without pride. This just adds to his greatness. In his lover's pride, his greatness is mentioned. He lives simply, so we gave him a shrine of gold. But as the poets say, he deserves one of diamond. If you're told that he died, then know that they lied. Open your eyes and give your pupils consent. He's the symbol of freedom for all those who are oppressed. Hussain in every uprising is present. And it's not just his shrine that holds his flag. In each of our hearts, he has a monument. I tell you his worth is that he never died. He is loved and adored in every moment. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. My next poem, inshallah, is about Abu Fadhil Abbas alayhi salam. And it's for all those who have a haja. Of course, as we know, Abu Fadhil Abbas alayhi salam is Bab al-Hawa'ij, the door of desires. Whenever we have a need, we knock at his gate, we turn to Abu Fadhil Abbas alayhi salam. And he looks at us and he says, don't despair. I may not have my hands, but I'm here holding onto your hands. Don't despair. I may not have my hands, but I'm here holding onto your hands. You can find hope when all else fails in the hands of Abu Fadhil. So don't despair. When this world brings you to your knees and in an ocean of worries you suffocate, when you're suffering all alone with grief more painful than broken bone and hope cannot wait, there is a place where exists hope. Its journey is short, level its slope, knock on its gate. To ensure that despair does not last, Allah put hope in Abu Fadhil Abbas. Allah is great. Knock his door and cry Allahu Akbar. Allah made me poor and rich the flag bearer. Generosity from its cradle in the hands of Abu Fadhil. Yes, Allah did create despair. Yes, Allah did create despair. But like there's ocean, yet there's air. He made a door open when all are closed. Open since Khaybar's door was opened, a door of cure. Everything has an opposite. When there is grief, Abbas knows it. That's what he's for. Without being asked, he is there, granting wishes, soothing despair, and so much more. He stands tall for the lovers of Hussain. Idols may fall, but Abbas, he remains. He is heavenly hope for those in hell in the hands of Abu Fadhil. He says, I am the son of the sole one who stood by Ahmed when all ran. This is our worth. The sons of Ali don't return any who come with dreams they yearn. This is our oath. We don't shudder for a moment. We seek out what is difficult and we call it forth. When once my hands Karbala would yearn, my right and left they fought between them until I gave it both. The two feathers on my helmet, they dream to become birds and fly to those in need. Can one know me and still be frail? So if you have children who are ill, or parents not long for this world, for Abbas call. Because my prayer is like no other prayer. When I call out, my Lord he hears, he grants me all. Do not doubt me, Abu Fadhil. Do not doubt me, Abu Fadhil. I make the difficult possible. Bring me trials. When I raise up my handless arms, Allah Himself tells me salam, Abu Fadhil. When I raise up my handless arms, Allah Himself tells me salam, Abu Fadhil. Do not fear if it's not meant to be. Allah hears, and through me better He'll bring. There is a door to the Lord's will in the hands of Abu Fadhil. I am not the son of Haydar, he says. I am not the son of Haydar if I don't mend the hearts of Shia that are broken. I am no son of al-Baneen if I don't soothe those that from pain are left shaken. I have no hand, but take my arm. I have no hand, but take my arm. Clench to it tightly with your palm. Show me your pain. We'll fight through it. I'll lead the way. It will be hard, but keep your head high until we've won. When my head was raised upon a spear, none would dread, as high it would appear, the height of virtue and morals in the hands of Abu Fadhil. He says, together we'll fight through your pain, but just promise me, when it's been slain, we'll mourn Hussain. If you are alone or you are lonely, know that he died a stranger while thirsty, his child slain. In his arm he held his infant, with no water to provide him, and he'd complain. As even his enemy cried, he threw Asghar's blood toward the sky, and blood it would rain. All trials are made to recall his, so strike your chest, and I'll strike mine while handless, the revival of his tale in the hands of Abu Fadhil. So don't despair. I may not have my hands, but I'm here, holding onto your hands. You can find hope when all fails in the hands of Abu Fadhil. So don't despair. Don't despair. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So I have one more poem, inshallah, in honor of Imam Ali bin Talib. Of course, as we know, the Holy Prophet says, Dhikra Aliyun Ibadah, and we are here remembering one of the Alis, Ali Akbar, who was a mirror of his grandfather, Rasulullah. And I've written a few poems speaking about how it's amazing that there's another Muhammad that looks like Ali, another Muhammad with the name of Ali, that is, of course, Ali Akbar. In his honor, and in honor of Ali bin Talib, I want to recite some verses, close with some verses in honor of Imam Islam. Against the wish of the best of creation, the love of Ali splits Muhammad's nation. To Ali we owe our very religion, so recite the virtues of Ali, and to Allah you shall ascend. Tell me, can there be anyone like Haydar? Open your heart, just like you opened the Kaaba. The house of Allah, it obeyed Ali's mother. Walls that were worshipped for centuries, for Ali they would crack and bend. The house that we prostrate to, it swayed like his cradle. Since built by Ibrahim, it had remained idle. He was born there, and yet he never bowed to an idol. When his eyes first saw their stone, of their destruction he dreamt. Who, at his own risk, slept in the Prophet's bed, praying he'd be safe when they'd find him instead. The Quran itself thanks him. Have you not read? Allah Himself would salute Ali when verses in his praise would descend. Whose skin bled before Muhammad thought to bleed? In war, whose name did he call to intercede? And when he ascended, whose voice did Ahmed heed? He was comforted by his beloved, just as Allah would intend. Whose sword conquered Uhud, Hunayn and Badr? Who with just one hand raised the gate of Khaybar? Who made Marhab shake when he cried out, I am Haydar? Name this name by my mother, and then Marhab knew his end. Whose name was taught to Adam as his first word? His name sweeter than the apple's taste when it called. Through his light, Adam saw the beauty of God, and to receive his Lord's love, blessings on Ali he would send. Who did Ibrahim call to cool the fire, and why? Because unable to burn are the lovers of Karrar. Ali became the ark that rescued Noah. No surprises in his blood. Prophets he'd always defend. When met with Goliath, who did David call? Who saved Yunus from the gut of the whale? Who'd give Yusuf hope when he was locked in jail? And when Yaqub lost his sight, to his eyesight who would attend? From whose patience did Ayyub's own patience learn? When the dead back to life Jesus would return, the light of Ali he would call for and yearn, and place it within their chests, because his love revives the dead. Whose name did Moses call when splitting the Red Sea? Whose name did Maryam call by the date tree? Who did Muhammad yearn when alone he would be? Ali is courage, Ali is strength, and Ali is Muhammad's greatest friend. So call Ali when this world stands up against you. Call Ali when this world stands up against you. He shows us the righteous prevail, even when few. With Ali by your side, you will make it through, inshallah. Like Muhammad, call Haydar, and his hand to you he'll lend. Because Ali's love is the soul of our religion. For know that there would be no Islam without him. His name is called by the angels, by the men, and by the jinn, a secret deep in the heart, an ocean that few comprehend. Ali is the light of Allah and his prophets. Ali is the secret that Allah himself perfects. Whatever praises Allah, Ali protects. Ali is succession's dream. Everything he'd succeed, he'd defend. So recite the virtues of Ali, and to Allah you shall ascend. Recite the virtues of Ali, and to Allah you shall ascend. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you guys so much.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And assalamu alaikum to everyone who is now tuned in. What can we say about that last segment other than what fantastic words, of course, as always, from Brother Nouri Sardar. He is a fantastic poet. If you've not heard his stuff, if you're not following his things, you must be. You're making a massive mistake. Get online, find his stuff and follow it. It is incredible. We have some more celebrations for today. We have such an exciting agenda. And the next part of the program, today's Mawlud celebration youth day, is we are welcoming two fantastic speakers, two scholars who we have learned so much from and who are now going to take a few minutes to share some of the inspiration of Hazrat Ali Akbar Islam in a way that we can now take it into our lives going forward. And our first speaker really requires no introduction. He is somebody who has studied for 10 years in the Hawza in Qum. He has got a PhD from the University of Cambridge in Middle Eastern Studies, and he is now currently studying psychotherapeutic counseling from the University of Cambridge as well. He has an amazing personable nature. He brings the spirituality of Islam and the psychotherapy, the mental health aspect together in such a way that really allows us to connect with our religion in a fantastic new way. I would ask you to welcome our next speaker, Sheikh Jawad Shomali, with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Sheikh Shawad.
Assalamu alaikum to you, dear Dr. Rocky, and the lovely viewers at home or in the car or wherever you're watching. I have no idea. It's through YouTube. They can be anywhere, really. So,
yes, yeah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you so much
Pleasure.
For that great introduction. And thanks to everyone for joining. It's an honor for me. When they said Dr. Kaki is going to be there, said Ammar is going to be there, Mulla Ali Fadhil is going to be there, Nouri Sardar is going to be there, Muntazir is going to be there. I was like, wow, it's like finally I made it to the Shia Avengers. So I feel like Ant-Man finally joining the movie. So it's an honor for me to be here and on such a special occasion.
Absolutely.
Initially, when they told me we're celebrating a birthday, I thought it's my own birthday, which is in 3 days, by the way, if anyone wants to send gifts.
Course, yeah.
But I was like, no, it's much more important. We're celebrating one of the most important characters for all of us Muslims, Hazrat Ali Akbar. He doesn't need any, to be honest with you, things. Everyone knows him. We all love him. And we have all heard that famous line about Hazrat Ali Akbar, that he was the closest to the Prophet, khalqan, khulqan wa mantiqan, which means in the way he looked like he even physically looked like the Prophet, in his manners and also in his speech. So I was thinking maybe that's actually a good place to reflect a little bit more on, because we've heard this, that, okay, Hazrat Ali Akbar was like the Prophet. Now someone may say, brilliant point, and that's why we love him. How can that now change my life? Like tomorrow, I want to go start my day. How can I learn from this? So I was thinking, okay, wouldn't it be so cool if we could speak about the idea that, okay, inspired by Hazrat Ali Akbar, how can we become like the prophets too? And the good thing is that we actually have a hadith from the Prophet, in which the people are gathered next to the Prophet, and the Prophet is saying, do you want me to tell you who is the closest to me, like most similar to me? And obviously people are like, yes, we would love to know. And then the Prophet mentions 4 qualities that if you have these 4 qualities, or whoever has these 4 qualities, they will be the closest or the most similar to me. So I thought maybe we can think about this. But before I share them, for those who haven't heard the hadith, I would like you to think a little bit about what would you have said? Imagine it's a quiz. It's really not. But imagine if it was, and the Prophet had said, I'm going to mention 4 qualities that whoever has them is the closest to me. So I want people for a few seconds to guess what would that be, because I think this could really, in so many ways, it's important for us. Okay, if we want to have prioritize, what qualities should I have? Or in parenting, what are the things I should help my children, cultivate? Well, it should be these 4. And it's very interesting. The first one, the Prophet says, "Ahsanukum khulqan," manners. And I guess, well, before I mention a few examples from Prophet's his own life of how his manners were, I think just the fact that the first thing the Prophet mentioned was husnul khulq is so important for us, right? I feel like a lot of the times when we want to do religious parenting, we focus on things which are super important, but perhaps they're not the first priority. Like, for example, if we try to force our children to memorize the Quran or maybe learn certain surahs, that's beautiful, that's great. But we should know that all of that has to lead to these first priorities, like relationship with God, husnul khulq, right? So if as a parent, I still haven't acquired good manners, if I still lose my temper, if I still get angry, if I'm not patient, if I don't listen to my child when he or she is talking, then to go and try to think about religious parenting, it seems a little bit strange, because the Prophet himself, who brought this religion, says that, see, if you want to be similar to me, then husnul khulq is important. And I want to mention a few examples from Prophet his own life. This book Sunan al-Nabi by Allama Tabatabai has many of the qualities, and I think it's so nice when you read some of these pages, like especially in your day-to-day life, when you read about these little details, like Prophet never interrupted when anyone was talking. Like, wow. It's not easy. It's really not easy. Like, I've been in a lot of, for example, talks with my friends, with my wife, but like to be that patient, to really allow the other person to just keep talking till they're done, it's really not easy. And it's like small things like this that constitute what husnul khulq means. And the Prophet had this. A lot of the times when, for example, we're speaking to our partners, like to your wife or your husband, or even a sister or a daughter, a lot of the times we may not realize that what they need is to just speak through their problem, like talk it out of their system, talk it. And a lot of the times as they talk, they come up with the solution for their own problems themselves. If we just are patient enough to let them finish their talking without jumping into giving solutions, offering solutions, or even blaming at some points, right? They sort it out themselves, which is what the Prophet used to do. And I think it's so important for us as Muslims to start emphasizing on these things way more. There are a lot of important things, like, as I said, memorizing the Quran, reading du'as, prayer, all of these beautiful, important. But I think a lot of us Muslims have forgotten these things, which is what makes religion beautiful, which is what the Prophet himself says, if you want to be like me, you should have. So yeah, I said one of the examples was how he never disturbed anyone, interrupted their speech. The Prophet never condemned anyone in public, never mentioned anyone's fault in front of others. These are all from Sunan al-Nabi of Allama Tabatabai, by the way. Well, things which I think if we have in mind can really make our life much easier. Never shouted at anyone in order to teach them a lesson. And even says, as a parent, if you're angry, you can never do parenting. Like, if you want to teach your children something, the Prophet says, as long as you're angry, that's not going to work. You're just venting out. You're just emptying your anger. So these are very important. I wish we had time to go into more details of this, because just saying the Prophet was like this is one thing, but then how can I be like that? Now, someone may say, okay, I want to be nice. I don't want to be angry. But just because you tell me, that doesn't stop me from being angry. So that's another area I feel like as Muslims, we need to do more work. How to become like this without, of course, now you may be wondering, okay, I'm an angry father, or I'm a grumpy mom. I don't know. Or I don't have husnul khulq. I'm not really attacking you because I'm like that to myself, right? None of this is an attack on anyone. We should just try and see, especially now in this day and age where there's so many techniques of how to improve our character. This is not an attack or anyone or blame. No, we can start learning how to fix these things one after the other. And now we have so much knowledge, like, okay, anger, how to deal with it. I remember before in spirituality, we just told people anger is bad, don't have it. How? Don't have it. Willpower, push through. Right now we have so many techniques with anger, with jealousy, with grumpiness, with so many of these things. So we need to go and learn them. And I feel like we need to do much more work. The second quality the Prophet mentioned that if you have, you will be the most similar to me, was patience. أَعْظَمُكُمْ حِلْمًا. And we have, again, so many stories of this, how patient the Prophet was. There's a lot of people may have heard that story that the Prophet was in the mosque. Someone went to the Prophet and asked for money or some help. The Prophet said, I don't have anything with me right now. And the guy started swearing at the Prophet, shouting. And everyone was shocked, but the Prophet himself didn't show any reaction. He said, I don't have right now. Let's go to the home after the prayer and I'll give you the money, right? And I'm like, can we even imagine that, right? So that's why a lot of the times I say, and this may get me in trouble, but honestly, you be the judge. This was our Prophet. The guy goes to the mosque, asks for money from the Prophet. The Prophet says, right now I don't have. He starts swearing at the Prophet, shouting at the Prophet. And the Prophet is like, it's okay. We'll go after the prayer. We'll go home. I'll give you something. Honestly, how many of us Muslims are like this? When people think of Muslims in the world, is patience, calmness like this the first thing that comes to their mind? If not, again, we need to work harder. And inshallah, we will, again, not to blame anyone. We're all in it together, even with something like patience, how not to get grumpy. How, like, now we're all living in like small houses. It's been a year of lockdown, so many children crying, doing all of that. It's so natural to lose our calm, to lose our temper. And so that's why I'm saying it's very good as well to learn techniques. There are techniques for how to be calm, how not to lose your temper. Inshallah, maybe in the Q&A or later on, we can talk about this. So none of this, take it as an order. It's not an order. It's an invitation to live a certain way, to be like the Prophet. And you don't have to figure it out on your own. No, there are ways for it. I know it's difficult not to lose your temper when you have a 2-year-old always nagging at you and doesn't sleep or throws up on you, right? It's not easy. But there are techniques that it's so good to learn. I'm just checking to make sure how much time I have. I want to behave. I'm thinking maybe they will give me the PS5 if I behave.
Yes, yeah, we're all playing that game.
Yeah. Hopefully, yes. So I've mentioned 2 of the 4 qualities. The other quality the Prophet says, so far we've said, أحسنكم خلقا أعظمكم حلما. The third one is the one who's the nicest and takes care of their family and their relatives the most, right? And I have a few stories of this as well, again, from the Prophet, which is so beautiful. So once Prophet and some of the companions were coming back from a trip, and they arrived quite late. They arrive late, and the Prophet tells them, see, if you want to go home now, your wives may be sleeping, you go in, they may wake up. Let's all go to the mosque, we'll sleep there, and in the morning we'll go home, right? So even paying attention to these small details of like, let's not just even interrupt their sleep, right? So this is another thing, being nice, taking care of our families. And again, I think this is one of the areas in which just knowing that we have to do this is not enough. If someone tells me, Jawad, you have to be nice to your partner or to your family, is not enough. We also need to learn how. And this is, I think, another area in which we need to do much more work. Okay, let's say I've been with my partner for 10 years, 15 years. I want to take care of them, but it's not easy. There are some things, for example, he does that annoys me, or she does that annoys me. There are certain things I don't know how to talk about it. The passion seems to be gone. It's not like it used to be when we were just newlywed, right? So all of these things, which are genuine concerns, have methods to deal with. And I think, again, this is another important issue to learn, to focus on. I wish I had more time. We could go into it, but there's always more time. Maybe in the next event they'll invite me as well. We can talk about it there. How do you go through an argument with your wife or with your husband? How do you bring the passion back? How do you make the romance alive? Or not just with your partner, even how can you take care of your children? How can you be there for them? These are all things that have techniques, methods we can learn and enjoy. And the fourth one and the last thing that the Prophet mentioned, if you want to be similar to me, or the person who's the most similar to me has it, is the one who is the most fair with regards to themselves. I.e., if they make a mistake, for example, they don't deceive themselves and others. They don't hide it. We have that hadith from Imam Reza alayhi salam that it's not from us the one who doesn't every day evaluate themselves. Right? So the Prophet as well mentions this, that the most important quality, like one of the four qualities that the person who has them will be like the Prophet, is this: to evaluate ourselves, to be fair. And I'm going to finish with this one. And I know, again, this one is not easy as well. By the way, how much time do I have? I'm being a little bit naughty asking this in 5 minutes. Oh, wow, I spoke so fast. I've got 5 minutes. So I will speak a little bit slower. I'm just joking. We need to kill 5 minutes. So the last thing was this, that being fair. And again, with being fair is not easy. I want to give you a few examples to show how this could be difficult and how we should be so careful not to do it wrong. Because we are already, a lot of us, putting so much blame on ourselves and attacking ourselves. So when we want to evaluate ourselves or have this kind of being fairness, we should make sure we don't go too far. Because it's interesting. Some people, like I've said, in some relationships, when two partners fight, one of them says you sometimes like, no, it's all his fault, 100%, or her fault, nothing on me. Like they always put the blame on the other one. And there are some who take the whole blame on themselves. So again, this is something that we should have a balance in. And so not to take all the blame, not to put all the blame on the other person, but no, be fair. Be fair even to ourselves, to others, and even to ourselves. And I think, again, sometimes this may be tricky. Like, you've been in the middle of an argument and like you're shouting, your wife is shouting or your husband shouting, you're arguing, and suddenly halfway through, like, oh, damn it, they're right, which is worse than them being wrong sometimes, because then you have to admit. But when you've already put too much effort into defending yourself, sometimes it's really difficult to admit that you were wrong. So even in these cases, it's okay, although maybe it's difficult. If you can admit it even then, perfect. But even if not, at night, right? At night, continue that fight as if you're right, even though you're wrong. But at night, you can admit it at least to yourself. The more we try to cultivate this honesty and fairness inside ourselves, the more we can be like the Prophet. So I'll just give a quick review of these four. We said husnul khulq, hilm, niceness and taking care of the family. And the fourth one was being fair, both to our partner and to ourselves. And the last thing I would like to mention with regards to this being fair is that in a lot of these cases, let's say you were in an argument with your partner and you felt like they're right, you made a mistake. Or for example, with regard to your child, you made a mistake. Or with regard to your parent, you made a mistake. It's very important that afterwards you don't blame yourself in a negative way. Yes, what you did was wrong, and you can find a way to solve it, right? But what in psychology we call it compassionate inquiry, right? For example, you got angry, you were unfair to your child. Okay, fair enough. Try and see, instead of blaming yourself so much that it will demotivate you from fixing it, like, okay, why am I doing this? What has happened to me that I'm like this? And how can I solve it? So this compassion will help you not to be too demotivated. That would stop you from even fixing it. And I think that's enough for me right now. So yes.
Thank you so much. I think, thank you so much, Sheikh Jawad. I mean, that really brings today's Youth Day celebration into context. The fact that you've brought that fantastic hadith and related it back to Hazrat Akbar alayhi salam. And I really appreciate that. We're going to move to a break now, and then we're going to have our next speaker, Sayyid Ammar Nakshawani. And then after that, we're going to have a fantastic opportunity to have a Q&A with both speakers. So stay tuned, and we will see you very shortly.
هوا منم مثل تموم عاشقا میریزم جوونیمو به پا منم مثل تموم عاشقا مثل کبوترای کربلا دلم تو سینه میتپه برا اولین ستاره حسین یارم ماه پاره حسین اولین ستاره حسین یارم ماه پاره حسین من هم مثل تو همیشه منتظر اشاره حسین اولین مدافع حرم سایت مستدام رو سرم اولین مدافع حرم سایت مستدام رو سرم همه بدونن تو زندگی آقای جوانای مولای جوانای
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to today's Youth Day, celebrating the Wiladat of Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam. And I am very pleased to introduce the next segment of the show. We have the very wonderful guest who is venerated across the world. He has spoken in numerous locations. He is someone we draw inspiration from and is a celebrated, influential figure around the world for all of us. He is Dr. Sayyid Ammar Nakshawani, or as Sheikh Shomali mentioned in the Avengers concept, he is sometimes referred to as Captain Ammar Ika. So I welcome him with that, and please do welcome him with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. By the way, I've not watched the Avengers.
No.
I honestly, I've never completed any of these. So
yeah.
I don't know if the character I've been given is someone I'm going to be happy with or not. It's a good character.
It's a good one. It's a good
You
one.
sure?
It's a good one, yeah.
I've been called worse, so it's not the worst feeling in the world. Actually, I'm very happy with the description and happy to see, this wonderful work, this wonderful occasion as well. Because only recently we've started to remember the anniversary of the birth of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. I think even our parents didn't used to celebrate the Wiladat of Ali al-Akbar. And I think we've got some members of the Khawaja community here, including yourself. I don't even think it used to be in the calendar before. No. So we can all learn new things, and when I was thinking about the discussion today, I was wondering, how would you introduce Ali al-Akbar in particular and the rest of the martyrs of the 10th of Muharram to a non-Muslim? And it's very interesting, you've done so much great work with who is Hussain. But a lot of times our discussions on such personalities tend to be preaching to the choir. It's the same, preaching to the converted. Whatever we're going to say about Ali al-Akbar, most of the choir has already heard, or even if they cannot verify, they will agree with us wholeheartedly because of their love for Ali al-Akbar. But the big question is that 90% of the world doesn't have a clue who Ali al-Akbar is. Because if the Shia make up, in a world of 7 billion, let's say we make up 6%. 6%. That means that 94% of the world in reality hasn't got a clue who Ali al-Akbar is. I can certainly guarantee you that non-Shia Muslims out there, in many cases, don't know who Ali al-Akbar is, unless you've grown up in Mumbai or Karachi and you've heard majalis all your life under your building. You really don't know who Ali al-Akbar is. Why is that? Why is someone who plays such a pivotal role on the 10th of Muharram not known by 94% of the world 1,400 years later? I can understand if it was 200 years later. But 1,400 years later, people don't know who he is. Is that maybe our fault? In some cases, people will say, well, we were only a sect that was in the Middle East. We never knew one day we're going to be in Europe, in North America, in Australia. So we didn't then therefore think of what techniques we needed to employ to deal with a non-Muslim, or to even tell people about Karbala who are non-Muslims. That could be one angle. But another angle is that I believe that many of us have missed a trick in how to elaborate on these personalities that the Ahl al-Bayt actually gave us, but some of us haven't spotted it. What is that trick? I want to bring two concepts together. One of them is Ziyarat Warith, and the other is, of course, the Holy Quran. In Ziyarat Warith, there is something very interesting that's done, and that is Imam al-Hussain is introduced with a mention of the prophetic figures who came before him. Because Hussain bin Ali, as an Arab, is not enough for a person to necessarily follow. So how does Ziyarat Warith begin? Adam. Salam to, peace be upon Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus. Why doesn't it just begin, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah? Why does it begin, Assalamu alayka ya Waritha Adam, Nuh, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, before it gets to Aba Abdullah, before it gets to Ali al-Akbar, before it gets to Abu al-Fadl? I remember I was invited to Iran. They were making a film about 10 years ago. In English, it was called Hussain, He Who Said No. I was involved in the writing of the script. When I got to Tehran, I went to the studios. I think the media studio called Tamasha, something like that. I went to the media studios. By the way, they couldn't believe that I was coming to talk about Islam, because he was looking at me just thinking, so this guy going to talk about religion? He was absolutely in disbelief. Anyway, so we got there, and I remember the film, which was a fantastic film. It's just a shame that it never came out properly. I remember that they asked me about the film and what I thought. And right at the beginning, the film goes to Kufa. Now, if I'm a non-Muslim, even if I'm a Muslim, and you take me to Kufa 68H, will I have a clue what's going on? Kufa, a lot of Arabs walking around. What was going on? So what I suggested to the script writers was that at the beginning of the film, there should be like a genealogy line of the prophets who came before Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. Because when you mention Adam and Abraham and Noah, the non-Muslim world, which by the way only makes up 50%, no, 90% of the world, 80% of the world, when they see Adam, Noah, Abraham, this is why Ziyarat Warith was so important. It wanted us to look at the trick that if you put these personalities like Ali al-Akbar alone, no one can relate to them. When you mention Abraham, it's Abraham? This person has a relationship with Abraham? Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam, and this is where I want to focus on how we can make Ali al-Akbar known to non-Muslims. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam, when Ali al-Akbar passes away, which ayah of the Quran does Imam al-Hussain recite? Al-Imran, yes. Which verse? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah astafa Adam wa Nuhan wa ala. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I chose Adam, Noah, the family of Abraham, the family of Imran, over all the worlds, offspring one after the other. And Allah is the all-hearing, the all-knowledgeable. Why would Imam al-Hussain mention this ayah when Ali al-Akbar's died, or when Ali al-Akbar's come forth, let's say? Why? Inna Allah astafa Adam, Nuh, Al Ibrahim. Why Ziyarat Warith begins Adam, Nuh, Al Ibrahim? Because it's as if Ahl al-Bayt are trying to make this clear that this is no Arab battle between two families. This is the line of the light of God on earth that represents justice and represents truth, versus what is the manifestation of injustice, oppression, evil, and so on and so forth. When I therefore look at Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam, the first thing I need to do when I position Ali al-Akbar in the world today, where if I look across that block over there, most viewers cannot see the block, by the way, but if you look across the block on this building, I can guarantee you most people in there have never ever heard of Ali al-Akbar and probably think of Akbar as an Indian restaurant or in Bradford, for example. In all honesty, because if you do go to Bradford, there's a famous chain called Akbar's, yeah? And most people, that's all they know of Akbar. or some poet, or some musician, or some actor. Ahl al-Bayt with Ali al-Akbar, the first thing they do, they make a comparison between someone like him and his father especially with Abraham. Because the world, half of it is dominated by Abraham. Listen, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, 3.5 billion of them are Abrahamic. If you put Ali al-Akbar and you don't relate him to Abraham, you've got this figure who's only for your sect. But when you relate Ali al-Akbar to Abraham, like Ziyarat Warith did, like Imam al-Hussain did next to his son, there's a comparison to be done with Abraham first with the verse of the Quran. Secondly, the comparison with Abraham with the Ziyarat Warith. Thirdly, the comparison with Abraham being young and Akbar's youth shining as well. Most people know that Abraham at a young age was full of bravery and chivalry, you agree? Yeah. And what happens is that Ali al-Akbar is similar to Abraham. They virtually both become an ummah by themselves. Ali al-Akbar becomes an ummah by himself. Like Abraham was an ummah, the Quran says, by himself. Fourthly, Abraham speaks out against the idols of his time. Literal idols. There's literally idols who he speaks out against. Ali al-Akbar becomes the banner for speaking out against the idol that is Yazid. He literally becomes the banner. Why? Because you could argue Ali al-Akbar's poetry on the 10th of Muharram is as vicious as Abraham's destruction of the idols. Ana Ali ibn al-Hussain ibn Ali. I am Ali, son of Hussain, son of Ali. نحن وبيت الله أولى بالنبي. We and the house of Allah have the first position in relation to the Prophet. أطعنكم بالرمح حتى ينثني. I throw a spear on you until I finish you. أضربكم بالسيف أحمي عن أبي. I strike you with a sword, protecting my father. Then he begins. This is like Abraham becoming alive again. ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي. The strike of a youth like Abraham. Although in the Quran, Abraham is Fata, Ali is Ghulam. The strike of a youth who's Hashimi and Alawi. Wallah, the son of illegitimate birth will not rule over us. It's massive. It's Abraham becoming alive again. One man standing up against a certain form of injustice, and in his progeny emerges another young man who speaks out against the idol of his time. The last similarity between them is that they're not fazed by death. And they're both young. And most people in this world, they don't want lectures on death. Don't talk about death. Talk about celebrate life. And I can agree with them. But if you look at Abraham and Akbar, in their youth, they're not fazed by death. Abraham in his youth, angels are coming to him and saying to him, listen, if you want, we'll take this water out. And he's like, no. See what God decides. The same Abraham in his old age has decided that the death of his son is not going to make him lose sleep. And Ali al-Akbar has that wonderful conversation with Imam al-Hussain where he's like, well, aren't we on the truth? He's like, yeah. He's like, so be it. So when I therefore want Ali al-Akbar, insha'Allah, in the future, it's for us not to tell the story of Ali al-Akbar to the same people over and over again, but to reassess how we can fit Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam, this wonderful personality, in the paradigm of Abraham. And then I think you'll see a lot more attraction to Ali al-Akbar. At the moment, he is a peripheral figure only for Shia 10 days a year. Inshallah, in the future, he becomes the main figure for humanity throughout the year. Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you.
Hassan Sayyid, thank you. Such a lovely and inspiring note for all of us, really. And anyone who's watching this at home and thinking about how we can implement, how we can bring Hazrat Akbar alayhi salam back into our lives, how we can revive his message and his stand. Those are some lovely words from Sayyid Ammar and Sheikh Shomali. And we're going to move to a break shortly, and then we're going to have an exclusive, a Q&A with two of the heavyweights from the Shia Avengers. live in about 35 to 45 seconds. Stay tuned.
منم مثل تموم عاشقا میریزم جوونیمو به پا منم مثل تموم عاشقا مثل کبوترای کربلا دلم تو سینه میتپه برا اولین ستاره حسین یارم ماه پاره حسین اولین ستاره حسین یارم ماه پاره حسین من هم مثل تو همیشه منتظر اشاره حسین اولین مدافع حرم سایت مصدام رو سرم اولین مدافع حرم سایت مصدام رو سرم همه بدونن تو زندگی آقای جوانای مولای جوانای.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back wherever you are. We hope that you are enjoying today's celebration, enjoying the day we have time with the scholars, and wherever you are, I hope you are enjoying today's day as much as Sayyid Ammar has enjoyed the chocolates during the break, which you can see
I've
here.
just tried to steal the purple ones as soon as possible, because every event I go to, people take these while I'm talking. I come to have the thing at the end. There's nothing left except the yellow and red ones, which you knew nobody ever eats. Which one? Yeah, it's just,
we had Sheikh Shomali telling us about the importance of looking after family and friends. So instead of eating the chocolates, he's given them all to Sayyid Ammar to mimic that hadith of the Prophet. We have the real manifestation. Today's next 20 minutes we have is very special. We have a chance to actually ask the scholars with us real in-depth questions, really get to the nitty-gritty of some of the things they've mentioned and really challenge them a bit on some of this, because it's not easy. And it's my pleasure to have that task. And I want to, first of all, thank them both for such a lovely eulogy and discussion. But some of the things that have been discussed are challenges for us. Some of them are not easy. We are looking at discussion for both elements, saying that the Prophet, peace be upon him, the most immaculate being that exists, and Prophet Abraham, who is, right up there, their manners, their akhlaq, the way they taught everyone is so powerful. And I wonder if I can reflect that back on yourselves and basically go to both of you and say, well, look, I'm a viewer, I'm a normal person watching this. How do I take that inspiration practically? You've mentioned, Sheikh Jawad, about patience, and you mentioned that we're going to talk about some techniques. So I want to ask you, and then I want to ask, say the same question. You might have noticed sometimes in your lectures, people might rustle around, they might move a little bit.
I have no patience.
Yeah. So how do we, and you manage to keep you give them the glare, but it's there. How do we do that? How do we bring that patience into ourselves? So Sheikh Jawad, if you could start with that.
Sure. I'm actually glad you asked this question. If you hadn't, I would have challenged it, because I feel like, to be honest with you, we're living in a kind of spiritual poverty period, in the sense that we know certain things that we need to do, like don't get angry, don't lose your patience, etc. But we're not telling people how. And that's why I kept saying that all of these have techniques that we have to follow. Otherwise, we may be scoring own goals. Like, for example, with patience, which was one of the 4 qualities the Prophet mentioned, a lot of the people may not know how to go about it, and instead of gaining something out of it, cause a lot of damages to themselves. So if, for example, we think that patience is to accept abuse, if, for example, we think that patience is that when we're upset, we have to suppress our feelings or suppress our emotions, not only we're not becoming healthier, not only we're not becoming spiritual, but also we're going to have to deal with so many issues later on. Right? So I think it's so important for us, and I really feel like as a community, Muslims, Shias, we need to take the methods more seriously. Right? I've always said it's enough telling people, like putting hadiths there, that don't be angry or be patient. Fair enough. We know that. Tell me how. Right? Tell us how. Tell us the methods. So I really think as a community, we need to step up We need to find ways, and there are ways. So any of these qualities, if you want, we can go into depth about them. So patience, because just it popped up, and we're getting close to the month of Ramadan as well. I think when it comes to patience, it's very important for us to know that there's a difference between suppressing something and accepting it or being patient. So if, for example, you're a partner, your husband or your wife, or even your child may be doing things to you, when we say you have to be patient, we don't mean that you should take abuse. Or that even, let's say it's not abuse, it's your child doing something. We don't mean that if you get hurt, just like, no, bury it. No, if you bury it, it will come up, either in the physical illness or some other way. So there's a difference between suppressing something and working your way through it. I'll just give one practical example. There may be people who are taking care of an elderly in their family, either a grandpa or maybe their father who's old now. And you obviously love them, you want to take care of them, but when people age, they may not be the nice people they were. They may say rude things, they may, be grumpy, etc. Okay, you're taking care of your granddad, you want to be there for him, he says something to you, and you can't say, shout back or say anything back against grandma or granddad, but what do? You've been hurt. Do you take that hurt? Do you shout back? No, there's a third option. Right? You obviously don't want to hurt your grandma. Poor thing, he's been there for you. But at the same time, don't ignore it. Don't suppress it. Afterwards, once you're done taking care of him, go to a different room, sit down. Talk to that part of yourself which was hurt. Grandpa said that, and even though I love him, but still it hurt me. Right? Every time I go there, he says something. Okay, talk to that part of yourself which is hurt and be like, I'll be there for you. Right? Or if, for example, go to a friend, a family member, and say, you know what, I feel like this, get some support so you can be there for them. So yes, definitely, each of these need methods. So maybe we can talk about them later on.
Yeah, absolutely. I thank you so much. And I think I can bring that to say them on, because I think, one of the things we do notice is, it's important when we're focusing on whatever we happen to do. And, as I mentioned at the beginning, in a humorous way, but I think it's important, you're in a majlis. Many people listen to your majlis. We know that you like to have quiet and focus. As Sheikh Jamal has mentioned, someone irritates or disrupts or causes something, you're right in the focus. I think a lot of us want to know, what goes through your mind and how do you control that?
Yeah, look, I think we're all of different dispositions as speakers. So there are some of us who we wear our heart on our sleeve. And if I make the comparison with football players, for example, there are some football players who are extremely talented, but they do have an edge to them that sometimes can go nasty. I'm not justifying that, but what I'm saying is that it comes with some of us that because we're so invested in what we're doing, I'm not just coming to, for example, give a lecture, and so I just want to get on with it. You know what? Let me just give a lecture and I'm just going to go home. I'm actually bleeding my heart in this lecture. And I think people have seen that the emotions can overtake me. The emotions overtaking me can be positive. I might cry in honor of the martyrs of the 10th of Muharram. But the emotion can overtake me also to a level where you grow and you mature. Prophets announce their prophethoods at 40 for a reason. So I've still got 1 year left before I mature. I think
you've done a good day over 38.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, as a male, I wouldn't really take your opinion. So, if you're looking at, for example, the prophets of God, 40 years old, he announces his prophethood. True? And Nabi Musa alayhi salam, 40. And I would always look at that and wonder, why 40? And I realized with my own career that as a 22-year-old, 25-year-old, 30-year-old, I'm just not mature at all. Now, some people might say to me, not mature, you finished 10 nights of Muharram and done quite well, but I'm still learning the ropes. And I think what I found in relation to what you need, Sheikh Jawad's right. Some of these concepts are too generically discussed. There are a couple of things that I found help me. The first is you need a good mentor, a mirror, someone who might say to you, listen, that kid that moved 20% of the crowd were seeing that kid move. 80% wouldn't have known had you not pointed it out. So why did you have to point it out? So I would be like, well, I have to point it out because I've only got about 15 verses coming up, which I have to say memorized. And that kid's now, it says kid moving, وَقَالَ الْإِنسان, kid moving, إِنَّ الْإِنسان. So he's like, it doesn't matter, 20% would have been the only ones who would have known. Another 80 would never have known. Had you not pointed to the kid at the back, then the whole crowd has seen. So that mentor is someone we all need. A real life person who's been through this. Secondly, I remember one book which really affected me in understanding, for example, patience, Ayatollah Khomeini's 40 hadith. Because the way he discusses it is he's taken the Quran, he's taken the hadiths of the Ahl al-Bayt, and he's now broken down patience to us. And to me, what was patience before? Patience to me before was when you face a trial or tribulation and you remain patient. But then that could mean that you're patient because you have to be, you got no other option. What else could you do? Then he showed how some of the imams discussed that the highest levels of patience is when a person is patient with the trial and pleased with Allah's will. There's some people who are say patient, but I'm not happy. I'm not happy that why did that have to happen to me? But I'm going to be patient, but I'm not happy. Then there's a higher level, which is, you know what, Ya Allah, I'll be patient. And if this brings you pleasure, then alhamdulillah, bring more on. So, but I would never have known that just by studying, with all due respect, just by studying the Quran and it's saying, for example, Inna Allah ma'as sabirin, it still wouldn't tell me the levels of patience or the degrees of patience. You would have to have someone who's an expert in that area, whether it's a direct mentor one-on-one, or whether it's someone who's an expert in the area where you look at patience, you study it properly, and you realize, wow, the patient person that I was a patient person who's unhappy, but being patient. That's contrast to someone who is patient and pleased with Allah's will, whatever happens in their way.
And I think that's an amazing way for us to consider, because one of the most powerful things on the 10th is when Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has his baby and he says to Allah, like, the fact that you're aware of all this, I'm a complete calm. I'm very peaceful with this. And brings us back to today's Mawlud. And I guess also brings us back to this concept that you mentioned about the mentor and mentioned about pausing to take stock. And you mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet, peace upon him, that the fourth element is ourselves, using ourselves as mirrors and looking and pausing and really reflecting. And I wondered if I can bring it back to you both and say, well, how have you practically done that for yourselves, and how can we do that for ourselves? I think mentor as an external is really helpful, but of course we can't always access the mentor. We don't always know who the best mentors are, not easy to get them. So how can we for ourselves take stock and use that as a chance to improve?
Would you like to go first? No, or? Go ahead. So I think personally, one of the things that I think really helped, and I think it will help everyone as well, if we just sit down one day at the corner of our bed or sofa and ask ourselves, what are some of the qualities I have that if I didn't have, my life would have been better, right? Despite all the difficulties in my life, despite all the suffering, despite all the things that other people are doing to me, are there any things that I am doing which are not contributing to my life having a better quality? And I'm sure most of us, as soon as we ask this question to ourselves, the answer will come up, right? For some of us, it could be anger issues. Like I had anger issues when I was younger. It could be jealousy. It could be an addiction to a certain thing. It could be maybe not being as productive as we can. And again, I think it's very important not to look at any of these as an opportunity to attack yourself or to blame yourself. Because as soon as you attack yourself or blame yourself, you kind of put an obstacle in the journey of healing, right? So if we ask ourselves, okay, what are some of the shortcomings I have? I'm sure most people know, at least they can think of a few. Then you take one and start working on that. But how do you start working on that? I think it's very important to have a few things in mind. A lot of us, we didn't have a role in taking on a bad quality. Like, it's not like when I was angry at any day, I woke up and like, oh, you know what? I'm going to make a decision to be angry from now on, right? Or it's not like anyone decided one day that I want to be a lazy person. Goodbye with productivity. Or with addiction. So many of the bad qualities we have, I'm not saying we didn't have any role in it, but it's not like we had the full role. It could have been maybe a difficult period in life. We didn't know how to deal with pain. In order to avoid the pain, we took on an addiction. And so many people are addicted either to their work or to their books or whatever. It could have healthier addictions or less healthy addictions. So it's very important not to blame yourself too much. The main thing is, if you want to fix it, if you want to get rid of that problem, then that's all which is required of you, right? So with compassion, if you take that on, and now, alhamdulillah, we've got so many great methods for every single thing, for jealousy, for addiction, for anger, for whatever. There are great techniques, and there's nothing wrong with seeking help. Sometimes people message me and they're like, I've been, for example, dealing with certain addiction. I'm shy to reach out for help. Like, if you want to fix it, what are you shy about?
Yes.
Right? That's all. You've done the difficult part.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there are ways. There are ways. So I think it's so important for every single one of these to go to, as Ammar said, people who have the expertise. With addiction, it's someone else. With anger, it's someone else. With jealousy, it's someone else. And then seek help for that. And this is something I've done myself as well. So that's both personal and for others.
And I think that's really, really powerful. And I'll say that one of the things we see as well as practitioners, and also to give Ammar some time, Ammar to have some time to eat the chocolate, is to say that you're right, the hardest step really, and if you're watching this at home and you're thinking, some of these things we've talked about really resonate, they're really affecting me, there's things I really want to discuss. I know I have this issue. I know on reflection I've had those things. I want to improve with the wasila of Hazrat. I'll make that niyyah today. Then reach out. Then reach out to our Sayyid, our Sheikh, our scholars or health practitioners about whatever you need. And I think that's the hardest step, but the first most powerful step on the journey. Exactly. And I guess coming to you, Sayyid, on the same level, I think, you've mentioned Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, you've mentioned the relationship with Ziyarat al-Warith, we've mentioned Hazrat Akbar alayhi salam. These are people who had a great insight and great understanding of who they were. You mentioned the story of Abraham on the way to the fire, but he's very calm and resolute in God. How can we inculcate that same reflection, that same ability to look into ourselves and really analyze ourselves?
I think perspective is huge. Perspective. What I mean by that is, we, as many trials as we go through, have it a lot better than most. And I think that's important in our growth, important in our journey. I know sometimes we can lose track, but if you actually write down the things that are going well for you in life and the things that aren't going so well, there's always more going well for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There are people who go through a particular trial, and if you ask them, do you have a house? Yes. Family? Yes. Education? Yes. Religion? Yes. Health? Yes. So where's the trial?
Yeah.
So this one area is a major trial. But if you look at the perspective allows you to realize that, what, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me so much more than what He's taken away from me. And I think that resonates with a lot of the prophets of God and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, salawatullah wa salamu alayhim, that sometimes you notice people coming to them, telling them about how hard their journey is. And then the Imam asks them, are you coming to thank Allah because He's given you health and not sickness? Or are you coming to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tell me about how He's given you wealth and not poverty? Or are you coming to talk to me about how Allah's given you kids while others don't? So which of Allah's bounties have you come to talk about? That person, all of a sudden, with that perspective, realized that my Lord has given me so much more than what my Lord has taken away from me. Because what normally is the stumbling block to following a Abraham or a Muhammad, peace be upon them, is that you get sucked into this idea that which religion, which prophets, look what I'm going through. Actually, if you were to write down the things that you're going through and what Allah hasn't taken away from you, you're actually doing quite well. So don't look at the negative aspects that are blocking that journey. Absolutely. Rather, look at the positive aspects, and the negative ones, take them as a challenge that is helping you grow.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you've mentioned in previous, both of you have talked about Dua Arafah, and exactly this, Imam Hussain mentions the same thing. We have that Imam Hussain theme, so we'll continue coming back to it. And he mentions this, he's thank you for so many things, thank you for reminding me to thank you. So all of these are...
And you're talking about a man who was an orphan at 7.
Yeah.
You know, I think many people forget Imam al-Hussain was an orphan at 7. Many people forget that Imam al-Hussain was an orphan at the age of 7. And we think we have hard lives.
Yeah.
You know, and yet what's wonderful in the dua is he's thanking Allah for everything. And orphan at 7, seeing father oppressed, brother killed, sisters having to move from one city to another, and yet still the man is thankful. And as I said, it's all about, I really do things about perspective, because on a personal level, I've seen how you can go through a very difficult period in your life where everything is breaking down. And then you have to really write down which things are going well, and you realize, you know what, this Lord is so generous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever he tests he wants to throw, Bismillah, because the amount that you've given me, it's okay.
And I think that's such a powerful thing for anyone who's watching. You heard from 2 of our eminent scholars about how they themselves have used these tips. These are not empty things we're talking about. We're saying these are things we can use in our own life and perspective. And I think I want to come back to one of the things that you both mentioned in the past, and Sheikh, just recently you mentioned today about family and that connection. And I think you mentioned, you know, the Prophet, peace upon him, was with his companions. They came back, it was late night, so they, out of their kindness, they went to the mosque. And I know many people will be here and it'll be late night and you'll be playing PlayStation soon, and you think, you know, out of the kindness to my partner, I'll just continue playing PlayStation. That's not quite what we're saying here, but what we're saying, I guess, is caring for other people. And I wanted to bring that in something a bit more difficult. Today we want to talk about the difficult stuff. And I think one of the difficult things is family or friends who have hurt you. Family or friends who have broken relations or who you're not on speaking terms with. This is something that I think maybe today we can talk about. Maybe we can talk about how we get into that and how do we start that conversation. And maybe Sheikh, you can start and then say it as well. We really learn from both of you on how we can do this.
So the question is how to deal with people who've hurt us?
Well, the question is, the Prophet peace upon him has said, the third quality you mentioned, those who connect and stay connected and care for their family and friends. And I'm saying to you that it's not always easy. Today's it's not easy. And today we want to talk about the hard stuff. We don't want to talk about
definitely.
You know, how do we do that? When we've been hurt, when we've been hurt by our friends or family, how do we still connect? How do we show that for the love of God, or however we do it? How do we do it?
Yeah, a brilliant question. I wish we had a few hours to talk about it, but I think it depends on the relationship, because the dynamics are different. Let's say between partners, between a parent and a child, between, for example, friends. So in every dynamic, the things we have to be careful change, although there are certain things which in all of them are correct. But for example, we can take one of them as an example between partners, because that example from the Prophet was actually with their partners. They were worried that when they go back, they may wake their wives up. Yeah. So I think it's very important. See, in relationships, a lot of the times we let a lot of things that upset us, right? We either tuck it under the rug or we don't talk about it. And obviously, because it's not easy, right? Let's say your wife or your husband does something and it upsets you and you're thinking, okay, if I bring it up, we have to have a difficult argument. Probably the whole evening is going to be ruined. Or another thing I can do is just ignore it, pretend it didn't happen. But what happens is that it won't go away. Right? So if we don't talk about these things, after 10 years, every argument becomes about all the things which have gone wrong. And I'm sure people who've been in a relationship long enough can testify to that. That if we don't talk about things that upset us, we'll get to a stage where we won't be able to talk even anymore. Right? So as I said, in every relationship is different, but with partners, I think it's so important, because you have to bear in mind the things which make you happy are the things which keep happening on a daily basis. And a great part of that is your partner. So it's so important that even though it's difficult, you talk about things. Even the smallest things, like what? Okay, when we go to the kitchen, Why do you put the plate not in the sink? You put it on the, for example, the counter. Even something as simple as this, you're going to have to go through this 10 years, 20 years. So sit down, talk about it. Make the things that you expect explicit, and also allow your partner to say what they expect, right? So I think this would really help to prevent, like, a lot of the times at some point in relationship, we get to a place where we create a minefield around us. I'm not going to tell you what I want or what would make me happy. I want you to guess it, right? And I'm not, and it's like a minefield. Like, they have to be careful when they come. Is this going to upset me? Is that right? So, okay, love me enough to figure it out. It's not going to work that way, right? So we have to, well, if it's a partner, make these things explicit. If something upsets us, we have to talk about it, and not take, what is it called? Weakness as a moral virtue. See, if I keep taking abuse and don't mention it, that's not being nice. That's being weak, right? So it's so important to talk about these, set boundaries, say what I want, talk to each other 90 minutes at least every week, right? Otherwise, like, people are going to move on. And so these are techniques, but as I said, like, in every relationship is different. This was at least with regards to some partners.
Sure, and I think it's really helpful because I think this is a huge topic, isn't it? And I think the element of partners, the communication, the understanding is really, really powerful. Now, perhaps I can bring Sayyid in and say, well, okay, we've talked about partners, we've talked about the importance of communication and this intimacy and ways you can discuss. What about those who are now estranged, who are not so close anymore, family or friends? One of the hallmarks of the Ahlul Bayt is the efforts they went to keep everyone together.
Yeah.
How can we do it?
Well, I'm just thinking about in my own life, you've had friends who maybe you fell out with. I think, alhamdulillah, in every single case, I found a way to reach out even if they didn't. Not that I want to put myself on a pedestal. Reality is that there's a day of judgment. And I'd rather... And I'm also the type of person who can't be bothered for the negative energy.
Yeah.
So if I think of the people that I've fallen out with, alhamdulillah, God's my witness, there hasn't been many, which I'm really proud of. But if I do think of those who I may have fallen out with, before a Hajj, I would have emailed them. Because listen, if we both want to get to Jannah, we can't keep this grudge, because there's no way we're going to enter together, because that's meant to be a place we're chilling. And if you still don't like me,
problem.
Inshallah, that we can make it to Jannah or smell the fragrance of Jannah. But if you don't like me, and there's all these discussions of the feeling, sometimes the word's translated in English as rancor or anger, which we ask Allah to remove from our hearts before we get there. I don't want to keep that. In all honesty. Exactly. So I'm thinking of people I think of someone who, before I went to Hajj, I asked for their forgiveness if I had wronged them, even though I felt I was wronged. I can think of another person who, when I found out...
And when you did that,
I
think a lot of us will say, well, hold on, that's quite hard.
No, listen, sometimes you're the one who's told that you're the aloof one, the arrogant one, the whatever. And the person you've actually reached out to is humble, down to earth, whatever. And in all honesty, only Allah then knows who reached out and who replied. I wish that there were cases where I could see others who maybe wronged me and they reached out. I would have really been, wow. But I would say 99.9% of cases, I reached out. This is the first level, where you reach out by sending an email, Salaam alaikum, and not just a generic email. Forgive me, I was young. Forgive me, there was a misunderstanding. Or on the night of Qadr, Salaam alaikum, how are you? You're in my dua tonight. Please don't forget me in yours. There is no chance that person would have emailed me. No chance. But alhamdulillah, I feel so relaxed when I've done that. Because of the fact that everything the Prophet and his family teach helps your soul find peace. I could give you stories from now till the morning. So that's on the one level. On the second level, there are some people you may not reach. So in Salat al-Layl, pray for their forgiveness.
Rather madalim type thing.
Yeah, but you know in Salat al-Layl what you're doing? Because in Salat al-Layl, you've got this idea that the 40 that I'm going to pray for are my 40 best. Mom, dad, granddad, grandmom, auntie, no. And then their face pops up and you're like, oh my Lord, what's he doing here? And this is a major test for you of your spirituality. We can give majalis on spirituality. As I said, I don't give many lectures on, what's the word for spirituality in Arabic? I don't know. Rawhaniya, Arfan, I don't give many lectures on these things because as I said, I'm still immature. I need my Ghar Hira-esque moment when I'm 40 and more for me to talk about how to be spiritual. I'm still trying to understand the laws of the human being. The human being is a wonderful creation, but it's all crazy creation as well.
Highest hill you got is Harrow on the hill, unfortunately.
Yeah. That's like, I don't think I'll go any higher than that. And so for me, on the second level, I'll pray for forgiveness, Salat al-Layl. If their name pops up, I'm saying their name. Sure. I'm saying their name. I'm not going to jump.
God's put that name there for a reason.
God's poor, they're in my subconscious. I'm saying, oh Allah, forgive so and so. They may not have forgiven. They may not, I don't care. Thirdly, final piece of advice is that Imam Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, many times on discussions of friendship, says leave the door of forgiveness open. Leave the door of forgiveness. Don't say never. Never will me and so ever talk again. No. Some people at that moment, they made a mistake. 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, they'll mature, they'll be back. Don't make it a thing. And I think I've been that type of person, in all honesty, alhamdulillah, that not to fall out with someone, but I may be close to someone and then there may be a distance, but then over that period, you see each other again, you smile again and you move on. It's not like, oh, I've seen this person, I don't want to ever talk to them again. Because then there's a problem in your own spirituality. Then maybe your ego is too high. There's too much takabbur and things to reflect on. So Imam always says, leave the door for an excuse for forgiveness.
Unfortunately, what do I say? We have run out of time, and it's very sad for me to say that because this has been such a wonderful segment. I think we have scholars here who could speak for hours, and we would continue to learn and continue to develop. All I can do is ask you all at home to welcome them all in your prayers. Remember them. Keep praying for the tawfiq for continuous service to our community and the wider community, because it's fantastic things we've learned today. We have heard from Sheikh Jawad Shomali about the 4 key attributes that the Prophet, peace upon him, asked for in anyone and how they relate back to Hazrat Ali. And we have heard about how the Abrahamic faith was continued and how our great-great-great-grandfather lives on in the memory of Hazrat Ali, how he mimicked that in his life. And inshallah, many things addressed today. We want to thank them both, and we will move to a break, and then we have an exciting agenda ahead of you. We've got the raffle for the PlayStation. We have got Mulla Ali Fadhil and Muntazir Jaffer, 2 of our most prominent, fantastic singers, reciters, eulogies. They have got all the tricks up their sleeve, as well as being unbelievably entertaining, and we're going to take you through with that after the break. Please do remember our team with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل
بالسم هلال خط الفرحة مرسال مولد 5 أبطال مولد كربلائي والرابع أكبر بكل معنى وابن سيد الجنة جد حيدر جنة وعيوني والقلب ما عافى ينسحر من شافه أحمدية وصافة يا محلى جل الله ما خالف شبيها لازم حكمة بيها شبل حسين قرة عين ليلة ضي عليها ما مضروب حسنه يفوق الحسن البرية قرة حيدرية يطلع غير وامن خير من ذات الزكية أكبر وابن الكبار فارس كربلاء صار فرحة كل الأحرار مولد كربلاء بالسم هلال
والسلام على خير الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. My distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ali Fadhil and my co-host is Muntazir. How are you? Good. Inshallah, we're going to get to know Muntazir a bit more in a couple of minutes. Essentially, first and foremost, congratulations on the birth of Ali Akbar alayhi salam, one of the heroes of Karbala, one of the many heroes of Karbala that we celebrate in this blessed month, the month of Sha'ban. Many things have been mentioned, amazing things have been mentioned about Ali Akbar's life and biography. However, one thing that we also do notice about Ali Akbar is his youth. And today is a day for the youth. And to highlight the youth, to give them a platform, we have the opportunity, or have given the opportunity to youths globally. This isn't just one country, globally, the chance to win a much coveted PS5. And the much coveted PS5 is sitting right next to me. I have seen the comments actually online, and I think 3 or 4 questions have been based around when is the raffle for the PS5? When is the raffle for the PS5? It is very soon, brothers and sisters, but let me just give you a quick introduction. Ali Akbar alayhi salam can draw inspiration. Ali Akbar alayhi salam can draw motivation from many a different youth. And so we've given the opportunity for young adults, children out there to be able to showcase their talents, showcase their art, showcase their poetry, their recitations in entries to the organization. And for a chance to win a PS5. Now, the only issue here, this isn't ranked based on talent. This is only ranked based on your love and dedication to the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam and Ali Akbar alayhi salam. So, in saying that, we're not going to pick a winner based on a criteria and a judge. The winner is literally going to be based on a name out of the hat, essentially. And the name out of the hat is going to take the form of a spinning wheel, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's a spinning wheel, and the name that's selected will be winning the PS5. So, without further ado, before I welcome the PS5 and the raffle and the draw, any words, Haj Muntazir?
I just want to say I'm sat really close to the PS5. I'm not in wudu.
Oh, okay.
Don't touch it. Please excuse me. But yeah, looking forward to inshallah looking at all the entries as well after the show ends. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all those who have taken part, those organizers as well. And inshallah, I guess we'll see who's the winner, inshallah.
Fantastic. So Hussein's Ark of Salvation essentially is a chance now for the young winner to win the PS5. And I think I'm going to give a cue to the engineer okay, here we go. So it's going to happen. It's happening now. It's happening now. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, it's happening literally live. Yes. And I can see as well what's going on. So if you can see on your screen now, I'm quite small, and Munti J is quite small as well. However, there are many different names, and I'll explain what Munti J means in a second. Sorry, but you'll see many different names on your screen. Those are the names of the entries. Just to give you a quick background, sorry, I know I'm teasing you a bit, just to give you a bit of background. However, the entries, as I mentioned, have come from the global. What I mean by global, I'm going to list the countries that these entries have come into, or from. The UK, USA, Canada, UAE, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Mauritius, Bangladesh, Australia, Nigeria, Lebanon, India, Bahrain, Pakistan, Denmark.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali
Muhammad. And they are 103 lovers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, lovers of Ali Akbar alayhi salam, the youths of our generation, the generation who's going to be picking up the banner of Ali Akbar inshallah for years to come. Now is their chance to win the PS5. So without further ado, please spin the wheel. Bismillah.
Ya Ali.
And the winner is, ladies and gentlemen, you will see it on your screen. It's slowing down. We finally have a name. It's in white and the name is, no, it's in green. The name is Ali Marali.
Allahumma
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Congratulations to Ali, Mirali, wherever you are in the world. I hope you enjoy the PS5. I'm not sure how it's going to get to you, but we'll definitely get it to you. Monty J. Now, the reason why I said Monty J is because on other different social media platforms, I've actually got him saved as Monty, M-O-N-T-Y-J. However, his name is Muntazir Jaffer, as we know. And so he has a couple of lines of poetry in honor of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. And please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Just something to keep in mind as we hear this poem. There's a very famous hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he says, "Ana madinatul ilm wa aliyun babuha." He says, "I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate." So just something to keep in mind as we go through this very short poem, inshallah. Who is this light? Who is this light who from the light of holiness was created? Who is this light who from the light of holiness was created? Not from the 14, yet from them not separated. Resembled the city and bore the name of its gate. He resembled the city and bore the name of its gate. From Ali al-Akbar's birth created was Karbala's fate.
MashaAllah.
On his shoulders he carried the bravery of Haydar. Within his arms would flow the strength that lifted Khaybar. His resolve for truth could make water flow from stone. And that's why today he shares with his father a holy dome.
MashaAllah.
By the sake of his station, Ali al-Akbar, I missed the verse.
Yes,
Ali al-Akbar, and of this youth, what do you know? Peace be upon he whose love could only grow. By the sake of his station, we ask to be called again to the city of Ali al-Akbar, the pure son of Hussain. The son of Nuh shed tears. The son of Nuh shed tears, for from the flood he was not saved. Yet the path of the truth by the son of Hussain was paved. Beside his father he'd strive, and so beside him he'd rest. And nobody can be buried under that dome except that they're the best. What else can one expect? Upholding the truth was never hard when one's father is Hussain and his brother is
Sajjad.
When one's father is Hussain and one's brother is Sajjad. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So once again, many thanks to Monty J. Sorry, I'm just going to keep referring to him. Is that okay, by the way? Yeah, Monty J. Many thanks. We're going to hear more from Monty J, inshallah. I'm actually quite... Is that genuinely... Is that okay? Okay. We're going to hear more from Monty J, inshallah, later on in the show with ziyaras and more to come, inshallah. Now, this part of the show essentially is first and foremost, we've got the PS5 out of the way. Ali Mirali, congratulations once again. Now we're going to kind of wind back, sit back and relax as we essentially challenge your minds and challenge how much you know about Ali Akbar and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So we've devised a quiz. There is no specific prize other than honor and glory. But essentially you have a chance to take part in the quiz. So sit back and relax. It's one of those situations where it's like, you know, like for example, what's those competitions where they have quick fire questions? Do you remember the weakest link?
The weakest link.
Yeah, do you remember?
Goodbye.
So if anyone doesn't know what the weakest link is, essentially the weakest link, it's not that this is essentially 7 people in a circle, but it's quick fire questions. And you know those moments where you're thinking, you're sitting back and you're like, oh, I can answer that one, and you answer those questions.
This is Mulla Ali Fadhil really showing his age here. I remember watching The Weakest Link when I was like 5.
No. I was quite... No, I was there thinking, yeah, I can answer that. Especially in the beginning rounds, they were easy. They were like quick fire questions, yeah? So this is essentially the same thing. You sit back, relax. If you can answer the question, answer the question. If not, it's going to be something for you to learn, inshallah. We've devised 2 separate quizzes, one specifically for Ali Akbar alone. 10 questions for Ali Akbar alone. And the second one is 20 questions, Islamic. Between yourselves, see how much you can answer of the Ali Akbar questions. As I mentioned, they are quite challenging. So we're going to start with the quiz. We're going to go into first question and we'll go question by question, if that's okay. How would you want to do? Do you want to ask all the questions and then do the answers at the end, or ask a question and then answer, question and answer?
Yeah, question, answer, question, answer.
All right,
I think
fine.
that'll be best because then they'd forget the questions by the time we go to the answers.
Fine, no problem at all. So we're going to start with the first question. If you're ready, sit back and relax in your homes. You can, of course, I've been just told by our technician that you're able to take part in the quiz by commenting on YouTube, which is absolutely fine. You can do so, but from our perspective, I'm not taking answers and saying, oh, this person got correct. What I will do, however, I will mention those who got the questions right. Yeah. So if you want to comment on YouTube, because you can do that on your phone, your iPad, your TV, I don't know how it works. Again, showing my age, but you can comment on the YouTube, and for the correct answers, I'll read those names out. So your names are going to be shouted out, inshallah, on the show. First question is for the Ali Akbar quiz, and again, we said this is quite challenging. So, who killed Ali Akbar? I want the name of the person that killed Ali Akbar. Okay, we'll give you a couple of seconds to either remember the maqatil or remember the person, but who was the actual person that killed Ali Akbar?
It's a tough one.
It is a bit of a tough one.
It's a tough one.
We're not looking at the end result. Again, I don't want to make it too I guess, sad or remembering Karbala too much, but we're not remembering the end, but we're remembering actually who killed Ali Akbar. So if you have an idea, you can either shout out your answers or you can comment on the comment section. So far, I've got nothing. Or they could Google it if you like.
I don't know how the lag works. Is there a lot of lag, or should we wait?
It's a 2 second lag.
Okay.
Yeah, so it should be 2 seconds.
Okay.
So far, I think no one's going to answer that question. But we'll reveal the answer in 3, 2, 1. The person that killed Ali Akbar salam was Murra ibn Munqad. So Murra ibn Munqad was the person who killed Ali Akbar. Do we have some answers? I think my technician is telling me we have answers. It's at the bottom. Yeah. I went to the top and I'm thinking, where's no one answering? It's at the bottom. All right, so we actually have quite a few answers. So Alina Dilawari said Murra, very good. I'm not going to mention the persons that got the incorrect answers, just not to highlight you guys. But you can probably see it anyway. But still, for those who are not on the YouTube comments, you've got basically NK who got the right answer, AKA got the right answer. You might as well put your name in so I can put your name out, but okay, AKA. Bavish Sharma got the correct answer. Sukaina Jaffer. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. That was the incorrect answer. And anyway, Zohra Virani. Fine. Second question, Monty.
So this question, listen carefully. It can be quite simplified if you listen to the question carefully. Ali Akbar's mother, Layla, and Yazid shared a grandfather. What was his name?
Good. So
Ali Akbar's mother, Layla, and Yazid shared a grandfather. What was his name?
His name. Let's see the comments coming in. Abbas, my name. Oh, AKA. Abbas is your name. MashaAllah. For the I'm referring to the comments here. So the AKA guy is Abbas. Thank you. So Layla alayhi salam, the mother of Ali Akbar, and Yazid shared a grandfather. Who was that?
What was his name?
And MHMOLU, I'm not going to pronounce that, is Abu Sufyan is the correct answer.
So Abu Sufyan. The reason I said it can be simplified is because if you take out the first part and you're just asking who's Yazid's grandfather.
Good.
And you have the answer.
Okay. So.
But yeah, Ali Akbar's mother, Layla, shared a grandfather with Yazid.
Fantastic. Yazid ibn Muawiyah ibn Abu Sufyan. Fantastic. Oh, there we go. So, third question. What did Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam specifically request from Ali Akbar to do on the day of Ashura? So, what did Imam al-Hussain specifically request from Ali Akbar to do on the day of Ashura? There was a specific request. Again, we'll give it a couple of seconds.
To give you a clue, if you're in the UK, it's probably coming up around there now.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Ali Akbar got AKA got the correct answer again. AKA is
Abbas.
Mr. Abbas has got the correct answer.
Abbas, AKA.
And the correct answer is to recite the Adhan. Yeah. Okay. Question number 4.
Question number 4. Sorry, it's disappeared. Where was Ali Akbar born?
Quite simple. I think it's a simple one.
Where was Ali Akbar born?
For the younger ones, where was Ali Akbar actually born? Again, we'll give you a couple of seconds to answer. Okay, so the correct answer is Medina. We have Sakina Virani, Sajida Virani, Maryam Virani. Brothers and sisters sitting together, probably, or I don't know.
I wonder.
They've all got the correct answer. And actually, a lot of people say it. AAK, Sihar Fatima, Sukaina Jaffer, NK, Ali Jawad Sharif, Bavish Sharma, Zain Chowdhury, S. Ali, Faliha, Fatima, Ali Akbar. All of you guys got the correct answer. Well done. Well done. So I'm going to get one last question through, and inshallah we'll have a very, very quick break because I want to finish 5 questions and then come back after the break, finish the rest of the 5. What is Ali Akbar's mother's full name? So not just Layla. We want Layla, something, something, something. There's 3. So what is Ali Akbar's mother's full name? For the question before Adhan. Ali Akbar's mother's full name. I think that might be a bit of a tough one because I'm not getting any comments. For the Medina one, everyone was answering that one. It's still coming through. So what is Ali Akbar's mother's full name? We'll give it a couple of seconds. Nothing here. So her full name is Layla, daughter of Abi Murra. Abi Murra. So Layla bint Abi Murra is the correct answer. So we're just going to go to a very, very short break. For the guys in the UK, it is Adhan time. So we're going to go show you an Adhan or play the Adhan for you. And then inshallah we'll come back after the break.
حياتنا مماتنا عزاؤنا لم نكن نبكي على طفل رضيع بل طفولات مدى الدنيا.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Ark, Hussein's Ark, and we are celebrating, as I mentioned earlier in the show. We've had an absolutely jam-packed show for you these last two hours or so, and inshallah we're coming to the last stretch of that show. Just to let you know, the PS5 has been drawn. PS4, as for the comments, that was drawn in 2013, unfortunately, so you've kind of missed the boat on that one. But for the PS5, it has been drawn, and the person that won it was Ali Murali from Dar es Salaam. And yeah, so we don't actually know I don't know what his entry was. However, we're going to see the entries towards the end of the show, inshallah, where you're going to see every single entry, the 103 entries from 11 countries globally that took part in this amazing initiative. of showcasing their talents, art, poetry, recitations in honor of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. And since we are celebrating the life of Ali Akbar, what better way to know more about his life and his biography by actually asking you, the viewers, questions about his life. So many, we've finished already 5 questions, and we're going to go on to the 6th. Come on, TJ.
Question number 6, and this is for those of you that were paying attention during Sayyid Ammar's talk as well. When seeing Ali al-Akbar fight in the battlefield, Imam al-Hussain salawatullahi wasalamu alayhi recited verses from which surah? From which surah did Imam Hussain recite verses when Ali al-Akbar was fighting in the battlefield?
That's an amazing way to do the question one way, and then you ask the question.
You got to flip it, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Eradicate any misunderstanding.
Just in case, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna wait for some comments, as I mentioned. So any of the answers coming in, Al Imran is the correct answer. Al Imran is the correct answer. The reason why I'm saying that is because Mr. Muhammad Jaffer Ali was the first person to answer. Actually, Baqir Kanani.
Audience are sharp.
Baqir Kanani was the person that answered Susunaj. Yeah, okay, cool. She also answered as well NK, Sukaina Jaffer, Sajida Virani, and so on and so forth, the usual suspects who get the questions right. Well done. Cool. So the next question after this is question number 7. The Ziyara of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. The Ziyara of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam was narrated to us by an Imam. By an Imam to which companion? No, sorry, let me just rephrase that question because that did not make sense at all. The Ziyarah of Ali al-Akbar was narrated by an Imam to which companion? To which companion of an Imam was the Ziyarah of Ali al-Akbar narrated?
By the Imam.
By the Imam. No?
So the Imam narrated the Ziyarah to a companion.
Yeah.
Which companion?
Which companion was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got
there in the end. Which companion was that? We have 6th Imam. Sorry guys. Yeah. Which companion of the 6th Imam? Very good. But which companion of the 6th Imam did he narrate the Ziyarah of Ali al-Akbar?
I'll give you a clue. Shahr Ramadan. Think Shahr Ramadan. That's your clue.
So we've got some answers coming in. Sorry guys again. Imam al-Sadiq. Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. No. Imam al-Sadiq again, no. AAK, Abu Hamza. So I'll take that as an answer. Abu Hamza al-Thumali was the correct answer.
Abu Hamza al-Thumali
was the correct answer. We have many other, again, Sajid Virani, Sukaina Ja'far, Muhammad Ja'far Ali, and the rest got all the correct answers. Question number 8.
Question number 8. In what Hijri year was Ali al-Akbar born?
Hijri
year. يعني AH. أحسنت.
Yeah. There is obviously a difference of opinion, but we'll get the most common
Hijri year.
The common tradition on the year that he was born, post-Hijri, post-migration of the Prophet.
If you're fast enough, Ashura was which Hijri year? 61.
How does that help?
Just in case you know what age I wanted.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you should, yeah. But yeah, cool. So we have 19, 42, 42, 42, 43, 42s, loads of 40s. Again, this is probably a question where Iraqis, Khojas, Iranians, everyone will probably differ.
I think I fueled that fire when talking about the age.
Sorry
about that.
42, 42, 42. I think we'll take, what are we going to take? We'll take 42. We'll take 42 if you think it's the correct answer. But we have here as
33.
33 after Hijrah, making him, I'm hopeless at maths, making him what? 61 minus 33. 40? 28.
You have good maths ability, Mulla?
No, absolutely not. So I'm not even going to start, and I'm not even, that's fine. That's fine with me. Question number 9 for the dear viewers. What is the name of the tribe of the mother of Ali al-Akbar? What is the name of the tribe?
This is a very good question.
Yeah. What is the name of the tribe of the mother of Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam? Again, there's a 2 or 3 second delay, so I'm still getting some answers, or we'll be getting some answers in. So what is the name of the tribe of the mother of
the mother of Ali al-Akbar?
The mother of Ali al-Akbar.
Any hints? The Avenger. Not the Avengers. The Avenger.
Yeah. So someone actually said that person.
Yeah.
But it's not entirely the correct answer. You can't say, for example, fee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're looking for the name of the tribe.
not the person.
Not the name that would be given to a person who belongs in that tribe.
Allah, Monty J, that was amazing. That was absolutely fantastic. So everyone's actually saying Thaqafi. So you're right. Oh, I got one who said Banu Thaqif. Fantastic. Yeah. So Alina, actually, Zara, Rashid, Alina, Dilawari.
Yeah.
The modern man also got it. Banu Thaqifa. Modern man. If you can share your name, that'd be great. The modern man again. Yeah. So Banu Thaqif is the correct answer. Down to the final question.
Right. This one's, again, please focus on the question. In a specific ziyarah, Imam al-Sadiq gives Ali al-Akbar a kunya when he says, place your cheeks on the grave of Ali al-Akbar and say, Sallallahu alayka ya. And then what is that kunya?
Fantastic question.
So what is the kunya this given to Ali al-Akbar by Imam al-Sadiq in his ziyarah?
Yeah. So as we know, how can we give him a clue of what a kunya is?
For example, the kunya of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is Abu al-Hasan.
Yeah.
The kunya of Amir al-Mu'mineen is Abu al-Hasan.
Okay. So we got some answers. No, this is a tough one.
Is it?
Yeah,
it's a tough one.
Yeah, no. The question is for in a ziyarah, Imam al-Sadiq gives Ali al-Akbar a kunya. What is that kunya? He says, Sallallahu alayka ya something.
Yeah, something.
And no one's actually answering this one. So someone.
For those of you that didn't hear that, someone from the backside, because it's not on Google, that's why.
So this is a tough one. So last one for today's show. Actually, 0 people have answered this.
Well, then,
quite interesting.
Should we give it the answer?
Oh, actually, one person has. They finished their Google search, and it was Zoha Hemraj, who says Abul Hasan. Abul Hasan is the correct answer.
That's what I think I realized when I gave the clue about Amir al-Mu'mineen. I realized that I'm giving away the answer.
Yeah, but none of them would have known. Yeah. Okay, so that draws the quiz to a close. Whose name? Is yours there? Where are you? Oh, Mr. Severick. Severick says Abu Hassan, our esteemed cameraman, our esteemed camera director, whatever you want to call it, filmmaker. He's also behind the scenes.
One and all. He's one and all.
He's one and all. He's one and all. One-man band. Mr. Severick's also. What's the real name? Amir. Mr. Amir as well has answered that question correctly. So I hope you enjoyed the quiz, specifically related to Ali Akbar alayhi salam. In the last couple of minutes that we have, I thought I'd spend just a couple of words of poetry in honor of Ali Akbar, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
And inshallah, we'll pass on the mic to Monty J to take you to the rest of the show, inshallah. But for myself, essentially, the poem of Ali Akbar alayhi salam, who says, O youth, and I speak to the youth directly now, O youth, hear me and my story, hear my glory and help me live forever. On that day, my father taught me, live like Ali, die like Hussain. On that day, my father taught me, live like Ali, die like Hussain. O youth, know by 2 names I was left in awe. I'm young, but I can't explain the things that I saw. For years, for a man named Ali, tears would pour. The pride of his name, every man near me wore. I saw a pride that never died. We were the sons of Ali. In awe of us, they all loved us. And this every day I'd see a promise that lived inside me. O youth, and I again speak to you directly, a promise that lived inside me, a pride my actions would maintain. On that day, my father taught me, live like Ali, die like Hussain. I was young, I lived my life in my grandfather's shadow. From my morals, my love for Ali they'd know. And on that day, his words to the world I'd show. Yesterday has gone, uncertain's tomorrow. And this is relating actually to Sayyid Ammar's piece about Ali Akbar alayhi salam, when, faced with death, faced with calamity, faced with tragedy, Ali Akbar simply says, are we on the right path, O Father? Of course we are. So then I do not fear. And that's why he says, yesterday has gone, uncertain's tomorrow. Why? Work within this world, referring to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Ali Akbar now is referring to Imam Ali saying, work within this world, he would say, as if you'll live forever. And as if you'll die tomorrow, work toward the hereafter. Today's my day. I'll work for me to be known as Akbar the slain. On that day, my uncle taught me, live like Ali, die like Hussain. My uncle, my grandfather, not this one, I'd cry out pretending my voice was thunder. And again, I'd cry out pretending that my voice was thunder. I am the hero of Uhud and Badr. I'd pretend I was the one struck on Qadr. I'd pretend I was the one struck on Qadr. So young, but I wanted to be like Haydar. So young, and yet they still feared me. I hope my grandfather's proud. I imagined I was Ali leaving in awe Badr's crowd. Ali, you're the father of dust. Accept me as one of its grains. Ali, you're the father of dust. Accept me as one of its grains. On that day, my father taught me, live like Ali, die like Hussain. O youth, on that day, I learnt many lessons. Ali Akbar again is speaking to you directly, youth. On that day, I learnt many lessons, and because of it, my name in hearts glisten. When they realized I was of Hussein's orphans, their sword called out my name, and death it listens. Swords, actually maybe I shouldn't do this one just for the sake of the celebration. But yeah, no, we'll leave it at that. So young, and yet they still feared me. O youth, on that day I learnt many lessons, and because of it my name in hearts glistens. When they realized I was of Hussein's orphans, their sword called out my name, and death it listened. But, O youth, hear me, my story, hear my glory, help me live forever. Because on that day my father taught me, live like Ali, die like Hussain. And that's the final message from myself to you in terms of living the life of Ali Akbar alayhi salam, living the story of Ali Akbar alayhi salam, living even the tragedy of Ali Akbar alayhi salam, because the path of Ali Akbar is to live like Ali, and inshallah we'll die like Hussain. From myself, it's been a pleasure to be with you guys, and once again, congratulations to Ali Marali for winning the PS5. Again, you'll be shown a full video of all of the entries, so that you can see the fantastic work that the young adults, the young followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have put towards Ali Akbar as we are celebrating. I'm going to pass on the baton to Mr. Muntazir, who's going to take you through the rest of the show. And inshallah from me, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ahsantum Mulla Ali, thank you so much. Really appreciate that poem as well.
The poet, by the way, was Nouri Sardar, just in case.
All credits to the poet, Nouri Sardar. Allah yadak khair. Thank you so much, Mulla Ali, for coming on. Inshallah, look forward to seeing you soon, inshallah. To end with, not going to take too much time, just a small, what is known as the national anthem of the Khwajas, inshallah, before we move on to Ziyarat. Ilahi Babimar dashte bala jo bimar ho जल्द पाए शिफा इलाही बराए इमाम ज़मां हमें होल में शेर से दे तू अमान क़यामत में महशूर हो बाली उठे कब्र से कह के हम या अली है पांच वनो مل 14 تن أحمد وعلي زهرة وحسن شبیر سله تا امام زمان شبیر سله تا امام زمان ایک ایک पे صدا صلوات پڑھو صلوات صلوات و سلام یا امام زمان فرما و ظهور یا امام زمان صلوات. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام على الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء جارب علي الأكبر عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلت، ولعن الله أمة ظلمت، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليكم مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا الفضل العباس ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا حجة الله يا ابن الحسن، يا صاحب العصر والزمان، سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله لك ما وعدك من النصر وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, many thanks for joining in today in what has been nothing short of a really eventful program for Hussein's Ark. Just a couple of announcements with which inshallah we end today's program. Please stay tuned after I leave, after my face leaves the screen, inshallah. We will have a video of the entries from the giveaway. You will see what our youth have put in, what creative talents they have presented to us, and you will also see what the winner of this PS5 has put forward, inshallah. And also, last but definitely not least, join us tomorrow evening on Hussein's Ark YouTube channel, the YouTube channel on which you're watching now, for our first ever live Jashan program, inshallah, at 7 p.m. UK time, 10 p.m. in Tanzania, and 11 p.m. in the United Arab Emirates. Many thanks to all the viewers for tuning in. Many thanks to all of our esteemed guests from today, Dr. Muhammad Khaki, Sheikh Muhammad Shomali, Nouri Sardar for his recording, Sayyid Ammar Nakshawani, Mulla Ali Fadhil, and thank you to all the organizers team. I can see them behind the camera. You can't see them, unfortunately, but thank you all very much. And until next time, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
همه دنیا پر از نوره، امشب شب عشق و شب شوره، امشب همه دنیا پر از نوره، پر از نوره. یه قنداقه که رو دستای مهتابه، همه میگن علی اکبر، بلاگردون اربابه. پر از نوره یه قنداقه که رو دستای مهتابه، همه میگن علی اکبر، بلاگردون اربابه. جان علی اکبر، علی اکبر، علی اکبر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
واستمع يوم ينادي المنادي من مكان قريب يوم يسمعون الصيحة بالحق ذلك يوم الخروج إنا نحن نحيي ونميت وإلينا المصير يوم تشقق الأرض عنهم سراعا صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أمير قلبي ونور دربي شفيع ذنبي وفي الغدير بدا مصيري أنا أميري له دعوني في جنوني وعالمي فلا يضاهى روح طه وفاطمي به أغالي لا أبالي بلائمي قالوا آخرهم ترتيبا علي قلنا الأول علي علي مولى 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 يزول همي وكل غمي بخير اسمي علي قد اصطفاه لي الإله وما سواه أنا شعاري كالغفار هواه لي وكابن ياسر في المشاعر بمحفلي بيوم خمي صاح دمي علي علي قالوا الرابع في الخلفاء علي قلنا الأول عليه علي مولى 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 مولى
كتبنا يا أغلى من غالي عالفطرة نبوها يا أول وتالي بنتا كتبنا يا أغلى من غالي عالفطرة نبوها يا أول وتالي شيء علينا 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 نبينا نبينا فينا النفس لو ضاق ويه الجمع مهموم يم حضرتك يا حسين يتعنك المظلوم غالب غلات العين وعلى الوجه مرسوم بدنا وهو هنا وهو هنا وهو هنا حضرت ولينا 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 بدنا وهو هنا وهو هنا وهو هنا حضرت ولينا 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 يا أغلى من غالي عالفطرة نبراها يا أول وتالي بالدم كتبنا يا أغلى من غالي عالفطرة نبراها يا أول وتالي شهد علينا 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 ربنا ونبينا 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 يشهد علينا 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 ربنا ونبينا 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 لابد عكس مندور لو دارت الايام حتر القبر ونزور نتعنى ليك عظام هل من يوال حسين لو يصرخ الاسلام ما نمشي على رجلين نركض ركض على الهام
بالسمه هلال خط الفرحه مرسال مولد 5 ابطال مولد كربلائي
والرابع أكبر بكل معنى وابن سيد الجنة جد حيدر جنة وعيوني والقلب ما عافى ينسحر من شافه أحمدية وصافة
يا محلى جل الله ما خالف شبيها لازم حكمه بيها شبل حسين قرة عين ليلة ضيع عليها ما مضروب حسنه يفوق الحسن البرية درة حيدرية يطلع غير من خير من ذات الزكية أكبر وابن الكبار فارس كربلاء صار فرحة كل الأحرار